Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to another episode of entitled People, where in today's episode, you'll hear an absolutely crazy story where a mom literally almost ends her son's life to get a video for social media. You gotta get those likes, right? There's also gonna be 2 other stories as well, so make sure you're comfy. Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories today, and do hit that subscribe button for future tales. We're diving in, guys. We're diving in. So, I'm the owner at a well-known and well-loved fast food establishment. We are famed for having some of the hardest working and most respectful employees in the industry. As the owner, I always make sure my employees know I have their back. So, today was rather uneventful. We had the occasional spill here and there, someone got the wrong thing in their order. It was a normal day at work. Now, I was in the manager's office looking over some catering orders due for the day. For some reason, it seemed the entire city decided that today was a fantastic day to order all of the food in the house. No matter, it's good money. I decided that I needed to call someone in to help the staff with the massive orders they now had to make. I was about to dial the phone number when my awesome employee comes in and tells me that someone's at the front counter and wants to talk to me. So I head to the front, where I see a Karen and her monster child who won't stop screaming. Now, before we go on, I just want to say that we have a relatively new employee who's still trying to learn the ropes. It was their 3rd day on the job. I come out front where a woman is losing her mind. Karen says, "Hey, your employee is trying to scam us. I ordered a large ice cream cone and he gave us a small one." Now, the new employee looks terrified and isn't saying anything. Not wanting this interaction to continue, I say, "Oh, I'm sure it was an honest mistake, ma'am. We'll fix that for you right away. Do you have your receipt?" I then tell the new guy to go make another cone. Karen scoffs and says, "Huh, an honest mistake, huh? Well, your honest mistake made my kid cry. He's been crying for hours about the small ice cream cone you gave him. How would you feel if you asked for a large ice cream cone and got a small one? You'd be pretty upset, wouldn't you? You'd better be making that ice cream cone for free, too." Now, at this point, I'm thinking, for hours? That kid was crying for hours? So I ask her again for the proof of purchase so I can see that she did indeed order a large ice cream cone. The woman literally said that she doesn't have the receipts and that she threw it away. I tell her, "Ma'am, without the proof of purchase, I'm afraid you'll have to buy a new cone, and clearly your child has eaten the other cone, so there's absolutely nothing I can do about this if you don't pay." Karen then says, "What? How dare you? You really expect me to pay for it after your employee made a mistake?" I told her, "With all due respect, ma'am, your son ate the other cone. I also don't have any proof that a mistake was made in the first place, but I'll tell you what. I'm willing to give you the ice cream cone just this one time since it's being made already." The new employee's walking back with the cone at this point, and Karen's previously enraged demeanor quickly changed to an almost creepy sweetness. Karen says, "Okay, I'll take the cone. Thank you so much." Now, I sense something is off here, so I linger in the area. My spidey senses were on. Karen was given the cone, and as soon as the new employee turns his back, I saw her getting ready to throw the cone right at him. And she does. Now, luckily my reflexes were fast enough to slap the cone right out of midair. I immediately turn to her and kick her out. I tell her that if she ever comes back here, she'll be turned away without question. Karen then grabs her son, who is now screaming even louder. She throws a tantrum at this point, saying that our food sucks anyways, that we're all scammers, and she hopes the store goes under. I decide that escalating the situation would be pointless, so I just keep an eye on her until I can see her car driving down the street. I then captured an image from the security footage and put in our do not serve list. My new employee was shaken up, but insisted that he was fine working. I gave him a 30-minute paid break so he can calm his nerves. First of all, thank goodness for those cat-like reflexes, hey? And second of all, Karen definitely might have been a person trying to score a free ice cream cone. Like, what the heck was going through her mind? You get the free ice cream cone you wanted, and then you choose to throw that delicious treat at an employee? Guys, listen, did she really want that free ice cream cone for her son? Or did she just want a cone to throw at someone? I really don't know. Now, to give some background, every Christmas, me and my wife do our own version of Secret Santa, where we find some family in our church that's very financially strained and might not be able to afford Christmas gifts that year, and buy gifts for everybody in that family. This has been the 4th year we've done this, and quite frankly, it's a very rewarding experience to deliver holiday joy to a family in need. We mainly find our families secretly by asking church friends if they might know of a family that's going through a very tough time financially. Most of the time, the family either knows that a Secret Santa is helping that year or is completely blindsided Christmas morning with a special delivery. Now, on this year, we got information for 2 separate families that need help this year, and the wife and I were planning out which gifts to buy for both families. During our brainstorming session, I get a phone call from a number that I don't recognize. When I picked up, it was a kid's voice telling me saying, "Hi, my mother would like to talk to you." I could hear the kid hand the phone to someone else, and I was greeted by a familiar voice. It was my friend's aunt. She says, "Hello, OP." Now me, knowing that she was super entitled and spoiled, having met her a few times in the past, roll my eyes and silently curse under my breath. I say, "Oh, hey, to what do I owe the pleasure?" The entitled mom says, "Well, I'm glad you asked. So my nephew mentioned during a family Zoom call earlier that you were buying Christmas gifts for random strangers this year, and how commendable your charitable giving was." Now me, a little flattered at my friend's words, but at the same time wishing that he just kept his mouth shut, said, "Well, he is correct. I'm doing a Secret Santa this year." She says, "Perfect. Listen, that's what I wanted to call you for." I said, "Oh, you know of a family in need?" She then says, "Yeah, me." Now, one thing I should point out about my friend's aunt that I learned from my friend is that she used to be married to a pretty rich guy whose family owned some oil fields or something. And from what I understand, when they divorced, she did not get ownership of the family's assets. Despite this, she still stuck the guy with alimony and gained 70% custody of their child. So this is the type of woman that I'm dealing with. She's very well off and rich, so I would never have expected this call from her. So back to the story. I said, "You need help?" She says, "Yeah, listen, this might sound really weird, but I really wanted to get my son a PlayStation 5 for Christmas, and all of a sudden, I hear about your kindness. So, you wouldn't mind buying my son a PlayStation, would you? That would be great. My budget's been strained this year, and it would really bring him some holiday joy." Now me, already suspecting that something is very suspicious here, said, "What do you mean your budget is strained?" She tells me, "Well, my car broke down, and I decided to buy a new one." I tell her, "Well, that's very unfortunate. Hopefully your new car is reliable." She said, "Sure is. I decided to treat myself to an early Christmas gift and bought myself one of those brand new Cadillac Escalades." Now, I just so happened to have my Chromebook in front of me during the call, so I used it to look up the MSRP for a new Escalade, which had a starting price of around $75,000. At that moment, a very cold anger had started to arise in me. The woman has mooched off me in the past and tried to take advantage of my kindness, and here she is again, trying to take advantage of me again, just to get a PlayStation 5 for her kid while she blows money on a Cadillac. Now, she could have bought a much cheaper car and still have money left over for multiple PlayStation 5s, and even after buying the PlayStation 5s, she'd still have money left over to buy gifts for multiple families. My wife could see that I was not in a good mood and looked concerned as I walked into my office. I may have been a nice person to her before, but this time I was gonna give her a piece of my mind. So she then goes on and says, "So going back to the PlayStation 5, if you could get one with a few games and some extra controllers," and I cut her off right there and said, "No." She said, "Excuse me?" I told her I will not be buying your son a PlayStation 5 for Christmas. "But he really wants one. Are you gonna deny a boy his wish?" I told her, "Let me tell you something about my charitable giving. It goes to families that barely have enough food to get by at the end of the day, and are staring down the barrel of choosing between rent or Christmas gifts. It definitely doesn't go to entitled people like you who have poor spending habits." So she scoffs and says, "Huh, well I never. How dare you?" I tell her, "Look who's talking. You obviously have more than enough money to purchase an SUV that costs more than a blue-collar income. Yet you're here trying to get me to buy you a PlayStation because your budget is strained from buying a $75,000 SUV? If your budget is so strained, then why don't you sell that overpriced car and buy one yourself?" Now she says, "You should watch your tongue. You know, the Bible says that the younger generations should be subject to your elders." Now, this pushed me over the edge. At this point, I was fuming and had decided that it was time to burn a bridge with this Karen. I tell her, "You know what, maybe if you spent more time actually reading the Bible instead of thumping it all the damn time, you'd actually be more thoughtful of other people than yourself. Maybe you'd be the one doing Secret Santa. Don't you ever call my cell phone again. Clearly you are someone who's not worth wasting my time on. I'd wish you a Merry Christmas, but even that's too good for you." I then hang up. So I blocked the number and proceeded to text my friend to make sure his aunt never contacts me again. And oddly enough, I didn't need time to calm down. Telling her off was actually quite cathartic. My friends, OP is definitely right on that one. She should be the one doing Secret Santa and helping the unfortunate. But instead, she's a selfish, entitled woman who has no problem spending $75,000 on herself and then not wanting to spend another, $500 on her own son? I absolutely love how OP shut down this entitled woman. So, a little bit of backstory. I used to be a swimming teacher. I got the job very young by accident because I've always been the sport type. Next to my house, there's a very famous Olympic pool where they teach swimming and train Olympic swimmers from a very young age. So I went there with no expectations at all, and the next thing I knew, I was working at 15 years old. Needless to say, I was the youngest there, and if it wasn't for the shirt that literally said that I was a trainer, no one would have ever noticed me there. My job is to take care of and teach babies how to swim, from ages 3 to 5. I usually have about 20 kids per class, from Thursday to Friday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. The kids and parents knew who I was when the class was over and the rules about the pool, which included 3 very important things that I remind kids every single day. Number 1, do not go near the pool if your teacher is not around. Number 2, do not go in the pool if you don't have a lifesaver. And number 3, do not run around the pool. Now, I also want to note that we have 3 pools, each one deeper than the others. My class took place in the medium deep pool. So the story. As a babies teacher, or actually any kid below 12 years old teacher, we weren't allowed to leave the kids alone or send them away if their parents weren't there. So sometimes this resulted in us waiting an extra 15 or 20 minutes for parents after the shift was done. A lot of the times, the parents would call beforehand, and we just changed our clothes, the kids' clothes, and then wait with the kids outside. In this story, that was not the case. Now, I still had a 4-year-old boy under my care. It was 40 minutes past my shift, and we were both wet, cold, and tired because we couldn't sit anywhere. I ended up wrapping the boy in a towel another parent gave me because the kid was trembling so much. And I actually held the boy in my arms when he couldn't take it anymore. And I swear, that kid was about to faint from the cold, and I was mentally preparing my first aid skills and my no shame barrier to run to the nearest hospital in my swimsuit. It was getting darker, and the cold air began to strike us, and finally the mother appears. She doesn't even look at her child. She doesn't even look at me. She just says, "Let's go," and starts to walk away. As I'm holding her barely alive son in my arms, she doesn't even look back to see if he's following. So I put the kid down, said goodbye, and watched him walk a few steps, and I turned around to rush back to the lockers because now I was freezing cold. I was furious, but couldn't do or say anything. I guess the mother had told my bosses that she had an emergency of some sort and was just sorting it out through her phone. So I got to the locker, changed into clothes, and hung out for another 20 minutes before leaving and closing up, since I was obviously the last one. At this point, it was around 7:20 p.m. There was barely sunlight, and it was time for the Olympic swimmers to train, and they don't really care for anything that's happening around them, so I just start walking my way out of the pool area, ignoring almost everything around me. Now, for some clarification, the pool area is for swimmers and teachers only. There's no parents or unsupervised children allowed. It's also closed to the public, and the only way you can watch what's going on inside is by walking away from the building, going up some faraway stairs to get to the seats area, where the parents normally wait and watch the swimming class. So as I'm walking away, I then hear screams. Panicked screams. It's hard to notice them at first because there's so much noise around between the water, the chit-chats, and the trainers screaming. But the screams get louder. As I'm awkwardly passing by the deepest pool there is, I notice the same mother from before, kneeling down in front of the water, holding her cell phone with one hand laughing and just kind of flopping her other hand in the water. I follow her gaze and immediately see her kid almost 10 feet down in the water, and I'm thinking, oh my god. So I dropped my backpack and dove into the pool immediately. Now, I want to say that this boy did not drown today because of me, and I'm not saying it to brag or anything. This kid is literally alive because I saved him. The people were screaming because they noticed this from the seats area. Someone had rushed to my boss's office and had called the pool paramedic. The other people were still trying to get someone's attention so they could help. The pool paramedic shows up the exact moment I'm getting the boy out of the pool. Now, the mom just awkwardly stands there. She goes to the back of everything in silence and just stands there. The kid is okay. They're wrapping him in towels and telling him everything's okay. People are still wondering what happened and asking around. I take a moment to process everything, and I notice the mom in the back staring at her phone. And I snap. Cue the drama. Me, totally drenched in water and raging, ran up to Karen and screamed, "What the hell are you doing? Why was your son, who's not able to swim in the deepest pool we have, unsupervised?" Karen says, "He was not unsupervised. I was watching him. I told her he almost drowned." Yeah, well, that's not my fault. I pay the school to teach him how to swim, and I guess you guys aren't doing a very good job. I just wanted to record him swimming to show his daddy and my friends. So she then shows me her phone with an actual recording of her telling her son to go into the water to show everyone how you look like a fish in the water. I then hear the boy repeating the exact words I tell him every day about not going in the water without a lifesaver or a teacher nearby. I then hear the Karen telling him that it's okay because she's there, and the boy saying he's scared. And I then see the mother pushing this kid into the pool. She then proceeds to record him struggling, waving at him and awing as to how he was able to float around barely for some minutes. I then see him getting tired of moving his arms and legs to keep his head out of the water, and he tries to grab the ledge. I then see his mother pushing him away off the ledge, and he immediately sinks. The video still lasts about 20 more seconds where the mother's just filming the kid sinking, and she's just saying stuff like, "Look at me, daddy, just like a little shark." And that's when the mom says, "Well, I noticed he wasn't coming up, so I tried to grab his hand, but he was way down. Thank God you appeared at the right time." Now, I stare at her in dead silence, and she says, "I should probably start swimming classes too, since I don't know how to swim." I then give her a death stare, and at this point, I'm done with this woman. I told her, "Do you even care about your son? I would really appreciate it if his dad came for him after class, because I swear I will never let that child go home with you again. If you had paid attention to him, you'd know he can barely float by himself." Karen says, "What do you mean? My son is my problem, not yours, and you don't have the right or the power to tell me what to do with my son. I would have jumped in to save him if I wanted to." Now me, visibly soaked in water from head to toes, in the clothes I'm supposed to walk home in, said, "You are a terrible parent." Now, I don't know what happened next to Karen. I approached the kid again to say goodbye and to check if he's alright, and then grabbed my backpack just as my boss came in to take care of the situation. And I started my 15-minute walk back to my house. I was fuming. My boss did fill me in the next day. She complained that I had screamed at her, and after finding out that I was an actual swimming teacher, she demanded that I get fired. She then threatened to sue the school because they had babies taking care of other babies. And when she was confronted about her breaking the rules and nearly drowning her own son, she immediately erased the video, said we had no proof, and screamed some more at my boss, and then walked away dragging her son with her. The kid never showed up to class again. I'm writing this story years later, and I'm still upset about the whole situation. My coworkers told me that there was more to the story, but my bosses refused to say anything about what happened with the mother. My friends, this woman literally almost drowned her son trying to film a video of him to share with friends and family on social media, and that's outright ridiculous. Now, if OP didn't show up to save the boy, that could have ended terribly. Now guys, I know you've heard a lot of outrageous stories, but listen, you gotta tell me that this is one of the craziest stories ever, right? And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our / entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed these ridiculous stories today, and if you did, do hit that like button, and if you missed the last episode of our / entitled people, I will link it right here. A wild Karen decides that it would be a great idea to steal home solar panels from her neighbor. The story is so crazy, so check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.